today you are going to be adding the background to your grid. So you should be coming in today with your objects or letters already colored with either warm colors, or you could have cool colors. You could have primary colors, red, yellow, and blue, or secondary colors, violet, orange, and green. To do the background, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to color it in a black and white grid, and then we're going to add like a neutral gray into the white squares. So here's how I want you to start this. We're going to work this, and I have mine turned horizontally. It doesn't matter how you start. I think I have a folder underneath to protect the table because I'm going to color right off the edge of this. And we're going to work it row by row. And we're going to alternate. So I'm going to come into my first box here, and you're going to pick a corner. So I'm going to start here, and I'm going to trace inside. I'm going to inline. Okay. Once I inline, and I'm coming in several, then I'm going to just go from there to the edge in straight lines. I'm not scrabbling all different directions, because you will see that I'm going to go all one direction once I've inlined. And I'm not trying to rush and go too fast. If you do, the blocks will be light and you'll have to add another color. Now, this is a really big block. So the reason we were dividing, we had to have those 6 lines or more going this way, is so we don't end up with blocks that are humongous and take us longer to color. The other thing is, we don't want to have more background. So we made our object here big because we don't want to have more background in black and neutral than we do our project. So hopefully you have a balance of a decent size object or letters, and your background sort of falls in the background. So I did my first space. Then I'm going to skip one, and I'm going to go to my next one, and I'm going to trace inside. And it doesn't matter if this space comes to a point or if it's large. I'm skipping one and going to this. I always inline, and then I fill with straight lines. Then I'm going to skip one, and then I'm going to come to this one. And whatever my grid is interrupting, I'm just using the space that is left. And I trace inside. And then I'm going to pull lines, straight lines. Always have a barrier. If you are scribbling up and down and you mark into your project or into a white block, those are points that I'm taking. So I'm showing you how to come inside, stay inside, and once you've created a barrier, straight lines. I think the edges are practically the easiest because they are, you can pull right off the edge. So I skip one, and then I'm going to come into this one. And then trace inside. And then pull off this edge. I don't scribble back and forth. You don't have good control up, so I always try and put it down and pull toward me. And I'm not pushing super hard. I'm just going nice and light, but always vertical, and I'm taking my time. Skip one, and I'm going to go into this end one. And then my first row is done. So I'm coloring, in effect, every other one black. And then I'm going to go to my next row, and I'm going to skip one. So I'm going to leave this one white, and I'm going to come inside this one, trace inside. And then I'm going to inline. If the space is small, I just keep tracing my way in. And then I don't have to worry about it bumping out. I'll skip one. Then I'm going to go here. Now, this is where it sometimes gets a little tricky. So once I've done this one, Now I have to figure out, as I go down this row, I'm going to inline again. And this is really worth taking your time. It will not take you all class period to do this. Okay, so I then have my project interrupting this space, right? So now what? Well, I'm going to go from my indicators from the outside. So whether I'm coming across or whether I'm going in, once I get this first row done, everything builds off of it. So if this is a blank, then this one right here is going to be black. So I never end up having two white spaces sitting next to each other, and I'm always going to like start from one row and then work my way around from there. So if this is black, this has to be white. If this is white here, then this has to be black. This is white, and then this makes total sense. This is white. This one here will be black. Now, you can do this like working the entire outer edge first. So you're going to do what works best and makes sense for you. But I'm going to work this row by row as I go. And so let's say row 2 is now done. That's all there is. There was only a couple there. Now I'm going to go to the next row. So I would be coloring here. And then, so I'm going to inline this. I'm going to inline some more. I don't like that I'm tempted to color over. And I'm going to pull lines. Phew, those are big on these ends. Okay, now I'm going to skip one, and I'll go right up to this edge. I'll skip one, I'll go here, so every time I'm skipping one. Now, not really sure what's going to happen here, but I know I have a black one here. That means that needs to be left white. If this is white, this small triangle is black. And then I'm going to come to here. Well, I've got black, white, so this piece right here has to be black. All right, and then if this is white, so this is black, this is white, this right here is going to be black. And I'll work my way around. So if you want, you can do, let me finish this square. Okay, so as I work my way around, I could work this way, then come up this way, then go across and come back down, and then work my way in. I could do it that way, or I could go row by row. So if this is black, this is white, this will be black. I'm always inlining, always, always. Okay, and then I'm going to come to this side. Well, this is black, that's going to be white, so this will be black. And if it seems like your marker is getting lighter, don't push quite as hard and slow down. It needs time for the ink to come out. So if this is black, this is white, this will be black. So sometimes I'm just working my way in from the edge. This is white, this will be black. Skip, this will be black. All right, now, let's say that I've finished. I haven't, but I'd be working this whole thing all the way up to the edges, okay? Now, I want to get rid of the white background. So we're going to pretend that I'm done and I completed all of my shapes, working from the edges in, and that these are all nice and clean black. If you accidentally color across, like let's say you are coloring here and you skip into that line, or you make something where you overcolored, which is points off. So the best way to probably correct that is to get your ruler. And if you don't use your ruler, it's really obvious. I'm going to lay it down on there, and I'm going to pull another line. So I'm going to go just outside my line, and then I'm going to fill. Now the problem is, it does impact the grid. Like sometimes you can see where you've done that, so you don't want to have to clean up. It's easier to take your time and do it right the first time than have a bunch of scribbles off the edge. All right, now for these white areas, we don't want them to remain so bright white. So there are probably two ways that I would have you do this, and you can pick which way you want to do. And I would pick one. I wouldn't do both. One way you can do this would be to take your black color pencil and very, very lightly, and always going in the same direction, fill these spots. And I'm just going to go light pressure, pulling this to a gray. Light, light, light. And I would probably practice this first, like on a scrap of paper, because it needs to be even, even, even. And I'm going to go across the other way. Even, even, even. Light, light, light. I want it to be like a contrasting lighter gray. So light, light, light. It should be even. I should not see a bunch of scribble lines and marks. Nice and even filling these other squares. That will tone down. So we'll have neutrals in the background in gray and black. And then your color theory will really pop against this. So again, light, light, light. I should not see a bunch of texture. It should be very, very smooth. If you're seeing lines, you're pushing too hard with your pencil. This is just our regular black, and I'm using it very, very lightly. Okay, and we'll do it in all of the white ones that go right up to it. So this is one way to do a gray. The other way to do a gray is to use your blending stub. So, and here's how I would do that. So if you're interested in doing that, I'm going to put this one aside, and I'm going to do it onto this one. You'd get your blending stub, and you would get a pencil. And I would just use a regular like number 2 pencil, and you need a scrap of paper. So I'm just going to get any old scrap of paper, and I'm going to scribble with my number 2 pencil, and I'm going to get a pile of lead. Really, it's graphite. So I'm in here and I'm scribbling. I'm going to sharpen my pencil a little bit. Maybe. Okay, I'll just use another pencil. I don't know where my sharpener is. So when I'm scribbling, I'm actually supporting it with my finger, and I'm pushing to get lead piled up here. And then once I have a pretty good pile of lead, I'm going to start. Now, if you're doing it this way, which is totally a good way to do it too, you're going to pick up graphite using your blending stub. All of your black should be done. So this is the very last step. So we're going to pretend I have this whole thing gridded out in black. And then I'm going to come in with my blending stub, and I'm on this sort of the side, and I'm going to gently shade these to gray. And it's going to require that I'm going to have to load, so I'm not up on the tip because I don't want to be creating lines. I want to make it as even as I can, nice and smooth. And I'm going to come into these, and I'm going to have to pick up more graphite. And I'll definitely have to scribble some more before I'm done. But I'll try to establish a nice even gray value in each of these. And when I run out of graphite, I'll reload, but I'm using like the flat edge to come in here and put this in. So everything will be a nice, even, smooth gray. So you can pick either way to do it in your colored pencil, nice and even, or you can use your blending stub, but you will get it to a black and gray, and then take a photo and submit.